back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, it is about 20 minutes post Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals. We now know that it is a 3-0 lead for the Florida Panthers over the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers looked really good in the last bit. They were starting to claw back, but it wasn't enough. They let the Panthers get 3 goals in, was it even 10 minutes? Like, all in the middle of that second period.
Yeah, a little less than 10 minutes, I think.
Yeah, they just kind of broke open for 3, and a 4-1 deficit was too much to come back from that late in the game. We were just talking before we were starting, but we were talking about how some of the guys were standing out. Some of the guys looked really good on the Oilers. You know, Warren Fogle looked great. Broberg looked weirdly good a lot of the times, but we're also talking about Evan Bouchard, and I know you specifically have a lot of maybe not strong feelings, but I guess polarizing feelings on him. Do you want to go off, King?
Yeah, sure. Well, because we were talking about it, and you mentioned that you thought he looked bad, and I've been
in both ends of the zone as well. Like he didn't. He looked bad defensively. He didn't look great. Like he looked okay. I guess he looked like a top 4 defenseman at best in the offensive zone tonight.
It's not even that he looked bad offensively. It's the fact that he sits up there, right at the crown, up on the point there, and the puck comes to him, and he's just blasting it on net. And so, I mean, it's not fun for Panthers players having to get down in front and block those. Lundell had a terrific block there, but he's easy to read because that's all he does is it comes back to him, you know, clapper down at the net. It either gets tipped or rebound or he puts it in. And then people are like, oh, he's a stud. He's a top 5 defenseman. And I preached all year from the beginning of the year up until this point now. He's good, but he is nowhere near as good as people are making him out to be. Like Oilers Twitter, all playoff long, it's, oh, they would take Bouchard in a heartbeat over Quinn Hughes. Oh, they would take Bouchard in a heartbeat over Heiskanen. Like, I get he's your player, but I mean, you put Quinn Hughes, Heiskanen, even Morgan Riley or something with McDavid and Draisaitl, they're going to put up more points than what Bouchard
Quinn Hughes
does.
On that power play would have 40 points.
Be
right
nuts. It would be insane. Like, that power play would not be sitting here with no goals so far in the Cup final. Like, again, I think Bouchard is a good defenseman. Like, I'm not saying he's bad, but he is nowhere near the heights that people are putting him at just because he puts up a lot of points when look who he's playing with.
And it is actually kind of funny hearing you say that, because for the last year and a half-ish, you've been one of the only people I know who has been banging the drum of this guy, Evan Bouchard, is great in Edmonton. Like, 2 years ago, very few people knew who he was. He hadn't broke out yet. And you were very consistently like, this guy's actually really freaking good. And it was kind of like, I mean, yeah, he's playing on the power play with McDavid and Draisaitl, whatever. And then he kept putting up points. His numbers got better. His defensive play even got decent. And like, he actually blossomed into this elite player. And it's funny because now people are really talking him up, and now you're the one saying like, let's chill a bit. And I think you were right both times as well. Like,
well, because when
people weren't talking about him enough, now they're talking about him a bit much. Like, it's
when he first got drafted and when he was, you know, in the development, kind of just coming into the league, the skill he had was undeniable. Like, it was there. It was clear to see why he was drafted as high as he was. The only issue with him was his skating. His skating wasn't very good. And when you look at some of the, like, you look at kind of the best defenseman in the league right now, kind of minus Hedman, but Hedman's just got a big stature, which kind of helps offset it. But you look at Roman Josi, Cale Makar, Miro Heiskanen, Quinn Hughes, like some of the best skaters in the league.
Yeah.
And so it's like when you've got a defense with a lot of skill, you kind of want them to, you know, I mean, Bouchard's like, he's big, but he's not Victor Hedman big. He's not Zdeno Chara big. And he didn't have that skating. So it was like he needed to get his skating figured out to get there. And once his skating, you know, developed and he got more accustomed to the pace of the NHL, he was looking really good. And then it's just kind of, you know, the offense is kind of progressed upward because, like, well, look who he's playing with. Like, how could you not? But then his defense, like, it's just it went down. Like, it's you want to if you got a guy that you're like, oh, he's our number one franchise defenseman. You also kind of want him to be a guy that you can trust out there when you're playing with a lead, or
Yeah.
when you're trying to hold on to a lead, like the Panthers tonight, a 1-goal lead in the dying minutes. You want to be able to trust him out there, like a guy like Aaron Ekblad, who fucking just parked right there in the corner, put out a lawn chair and sat there and said, "Watch these 30 seconds roll down." And
Yeah, he
like,
just took a beating in that corner to hold it there. He was not taking any chances. He wasn't worried about getting the empty net goal. Like, let's just lock it down. You are not going to move me. I didn't think he was going to finish the game. After he took that massive shot block in, I believe, the second period, like, I don't even know who it was. Somebody took an absolute huge slap shot from the point, and
that was
he
an
he took it
unfortunate
he took it
play.
in the leg, and he was down for like 10 seconds before getting back up and finishing the play and skating off. And like, I didn't think he was coming back.
No, so I think it just stung him because if you watch the replay, so I don't know if his stick broke or he just lost it, but he was in the middle of trying to get Rodriguez's stick because Rodriguez is a righty, just like Ekblad. So like, you don't want to grab a left-handed stick and not know what to do with it. And so he was going to try and get the stick from Rodriguez, and he was focused on that, and that's when the puck came and hit him. So he wasn't even paying
Mm.
attention to the puck at the
He didn't
time. It
even
just kind
see
of
it.
came in and just smacked him. So I think it just kind of caught him off guard and stung him a bit. He obviously was hurting out there, but I think it was just kind of caught him off guard a bit and stung him. And then
Yeah,
he came
just the
back
way
out and
he
he looked
dropped. You
awesome.
see the big shot, and all of a sudden he dropped. It's kind of like, ugh, that does not look good. But I think he even finished the period. Like, he missed maybe one shift. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I
So
completely agree. You need those guys that you can depend on in your zone, and you know,
yeah,
generally, Bouchard isn't like a defensive liability. He has been as of late, in like later in these playoffs, even early in the playoffs, he was fine in his own zone. But like, as of late, and maybe it's just a testament to how incredible this Florida Panthers team is. But he's definitely looked like a guy that they're ready to expose.
oh, 100%, yeah. And so you mentioned how Florida won this game by a score of 4-3, up 3-0 this series. When we recorded last episode, we were still at the point where it was a 2-0 series, Florida. And we were like, okay, you know what? Edmonton's not out of this. Edmonton's still right in this series, and you're never in trouble until you lose at home. And now Edmonton, unfortunately, has lost at home here, and they're down 3-0, and that puts them in a really tough spot because you have to win 4
Borderline
straight.
impossible.
Like, you have to pull off a reverse sweep in the Stanley Cup final against a Florida Panthers team that has been rolling. Like, you're looking at it right now. I don't think their bottom six has been scored on once.
Yeah,
Like,
they're
you like, when you talk about
yeah,
Florida, you talk about
like
their top guys up front, their big stars. But when you also look at it, it's like their bottom six hasn't been on the ice for a goal against. The only line, I think it was Barkov's line in game 2, and then tonight it was the Bennett Kachuk line was on for all 3 Edmonton goals. So like, Florida's bottom six is like they're
you can take
shutting
the
it all
players out of
down.
Calgary, but you can't take the Calgary out of the players.
Yeah, yeah,
Still get being a -3 against the Oilers.
against the Oilers. But like,
But
that's just incredible with how
yeah,
good Florida's top six have been playing. And you're like, okay, let's give some credit to the bottom six because like
their
they're
depth
doing
is
their job.
very good. Like, I know a lot of people love to
It
talk
just
about
rolls.
Dallas's depth, which is very deep, but Florida is right up there with one of the most deep teams in the league at the moment. And yeah, it's probably Dallas, Florida, and probably the Rangers. Like, there might be one or
Yeah,
two other teams I'm missing, but like, I don't see a way where this Florida team isn't at least top 3 for
it
forward depth in the league.
it just takes me back to the Tampa Bay Lightning and in their back-to-back cups. Like, you can just roll out you can just
Yeah,
rotate your 4 lines, your defense, your goalie is fucking Bobrovsky. At one point,
I was gonna say
people were
it
saying he had
really
the
does
worst
look like a
contract
similar team.
in the league, and now he's playing absolutely out of his mind, considering game was 4-3, and that save off McLeod after McDavid undressed everyone and put it to McLeod right there out front, like insane save by Bobrovsky that saved the game. But it's like Florida's just they're just rolling. They're just rotating through, and there's no
they look like cup
weakness
winners
that Edmonton can expose is the
like
biggest thing.
there's some teams where you watch them and it's like even in the cup finals, even in late in the game, like ice in their veins. Like they just don't look like it's anything's gonna phase them, Tampa, especially in that second year, had that. Vegas clearly had that. Colorado at that point when they won the cup had it. This Panthers team, like, they just don't care. They just are out there and it's just, we're gonna win. We're gonna make it happen. And they just play their game. Like Edmonton's out there, they're clearly like scrambling and like not exactly making misplays because of it, but like they're clearly like, fuck, we gotta get going. Like we gotta make something happen here. The Panthers are just playing their game, and if we do that for 60 minutes, we're gonna win the hockey game. And that's just like I don't remember the last team that won the cup that didn't have that feeling in the majority of their games where they're just focused on winning and they're gonna go out, execute, and then they do it. They look so calm out there.
100%, yeah. Like it's I had a thought and I'm totally blanking on it now, but I'll figure it out at some point.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'll come back to it whenever I remember. But I mean, yeah, like it's when Florida's out there, they can see if Nurse is out there sometimes, CC, even Bouchard sometimes, they see an area that they can expose and they take full advantage of it. And then but the thing is Florida doesn't have that on their side that Edmonton can see and expose. I just thought of the thing I forgot. When
Legend. He did it.
When Ryan McLeod scored, I thought Edmonton was coming back to win the game. Honestly, I thought Edmonton was going to win because
that was such a good pass play by everyone involved. Draisaitl wins the puck battle over to McDavid. McDavid keeps it while a guy's on him, and also spins around, turns backhand pass from the right side corner to the left side point. A great shot from Broberg, and it gets tipped in by McLeod. Like I don't know where the fifth guy
Brett
for the
Kulak.
Oilers was.
It was Brett Kulak.
Or Kulak, sorry. Broberg got the other one.
Yeah.
But like those four guys, I don't know where the fifth one was. He was probably helping out somewhere, but all four of those guys in on that goal, that was perfect execution. And it like
and there's still like
I'm just
5
surprised
minutes
we
left.
haven't got more of that in this
And
series.
the
Like
building was rocking. Like it felt like it was like, okay, this is it. Like Edmonton is rolling now. Like their top guys just looked like themselves there out there dishing the puck around. Just a picture perfect play. Like building is just absolutely buzzing, super loud, incredible atmosphere. It was like, this is it. They're gonna get one, they're gonna tie it up, and then they might even get another one and win a regulation, or it goes to overtime, and then the atmosphere would just amplify by 100% there for that. So, but
yeah,
like we said, Florida, they stayed calm, cool, collected. They continued to play their game, and they didn't even push for offense. They kind of just sat back and said, "All right, come at us, and we're gonna do our thing. We know how to close out games." And boy, do they ever.
Yeah, they do a really good job of minimizing those high danger chances. You're not getting a lot of shots from the slot. Like it's a lot of shots from the point that you just got to hope bounce off somebody goes in. Like was that the first, or I'm not sure which goal it was, but I think that was Broberg's goal. He takes the shot and it's going, I think, over the net and wide. It's going high and wide, and it hits a guy's shoulder and falls in behind the goalie.
And the only guy could hit and go off of where it would go in the net was Nico Mikla, because he's so big.
Yeah.
Like if that was a Montour or Kulikov or something, probably doesn't go in. It probably hits their shoulder pad and bounces, through the crease or on top of the net or something. But the fact that it was Mikla, who's so big, it was perfect there to kind of hit the upper arm, elbow area and go in.
Yeah. So even with how much they've stifled Edmonton's offense, a shot from the point and a tip and it's in, a shot that's going wide that bounces off a guy and falls behind Bobrovsky. Like even the ones that have gotten past Bobrovsky, like a lot of them are just bounces and like hard to get. Like they have not beat Bobrovsky clean very much. That first goal, Warren Fogle, like that beat him clean.
That was a
Breakaway,
great shot.
right above the pad. Like that's exactly where the coach wants you to shoot. That was perfect. Far side, but other than that, like, have any of their goals really just been them like straight up beating Bobrovsky? I guess
No.
they had the one, whoever scored it. I think it was in game 2 where they because they had one goal in game 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, their one goal at the beginning. They walked in, he just beat him clean on the partial breakaway. But like 2 clean goals over a goalie in 3 games, it's not a winning recipe. There's
Yeah. I mean, it's just
there's literally a
and
chance, but like it's man
it's not
coming
even
down
like
from three
being
nothing
like
in the finals.
yeah, and when you think like, oh, a team's down 3-0, you're like, man, they're bad. It's like, no, Edmonton's been a good team though throughout this
Yeah,
series. Like they haven't been a bad team. It's just Florida's been I I mean, Florida's been the better team, but not by a large margin. But it's Florida's capitalizing off Edmonton's mistakes, and when Florida makes mistakes, which is very few, they're able to, you know, someone else out there is going to step up and make a play to stop Edmonton from scoring. And
yeah.
also Florida's power play, which is still at 100% in this series, shutting down Edmonton's power play the way they have been is also really impressive and a huge part of why they're where they are. Because I thought Edmonton's power play looked, despite not scoring, they did look just absolutely terrific tonight. I thought they looked awesome.
It's yeah, it's absolutely brutal that they're down 3-0 because they have played well, especially that game 1. Like that's such a ball buster to not come out of that one with a win. But yeah, I just can't see them coming back. I don't even know if I can see them winning game 4, honestly. Like I don't it could be one of those things where like as soon as like some of the shots just start going in, like we said it before in the predictions when I predicted Edmonton was going to win in 7. I also said they could get swept. Like we have no like this team is so unpredictable. Like a lot of these other teams like you
For
can
real, yeah.
figure what's going to happen, but we said it was going to live or die on the power play, and their power play is at 0% in the series and they're down 3-0.
Yeah, exactly, right? I mean, yeah, it's I mean, I mean, if like anything's possible. Like if you're Edmonton, you
Yeah.
could easily win 4 straight. I
Especially
mean,
on a team with
hell, they
the
won
top end talent they have.
yeah. Like hell, they won 16 in a row earlier this year. Like that's an entire playoff run and one
Starting
win
when they
streak they
were
did.
the 31st team in the league. Like they were bottom of
Yeah.
the barrel when they went on that streak as well. So like we know they can, but it's
But this
looking
is
grim
where it
right now.
needs to change. Going
Yeah.
into this game, it was I think the stat was like the last time Edmonton scored one or fewer game in a 2-game span or something was like February of 2022. Edmonton has scored 4 goals now throughout the Stanley Cup final here, coming from Ryan McLeod, Philip Broberg, Warren Fogle, and Matthias Ekholm. So McDavid, Draisaitl, and Hyman, they combined altogether for 127 goals in the regular season. And I mean, they're top of all the stats, like McDavid and Draisaitl at the top of points. Zach Hyman blowing everyone away in goals have combined for no goals in this series. Like, and then someone just sent me this. This is the first time that Leon Draisaitl has gone 3 games straight without a point since March of 2020.
Yeah. Yeah, they
Is
were
that when
saying on
COVID
the
started?
broadcast. They were saying on the broadcast that like it's been forever since he went this long without scoring a goal.
I will say though, Draisaitl is hurt. I don't know what exactly he's dealing with, but he
Yeah,
is hurt. He is
he does not
playing
look like him.
very injured right now. Um, but it's like again, if Edmonton's gonna win this series, they need their top guys to take over the next 4 games and just dominate. Like that's what it's gonna come down to. And I mean, like we said, anything's possible, but With the way this Florida Panthers team has been playing, it's tough. It's not going to be easy if they are going to be able to find a way to pull it off.
Yeah, it's gonna be very difficult, and we've seen it very few times. Has it ever happened in the Stanley Cup final?
No, no.
Like, man, what a story that would be. It is very hard to imagine it happening, but
It would be an
that would be
a
electric.
reverse sweep in the Cup final for the Cup to come back to Canada.
For McDavid to get his first cup, like
Insane. Yeah,
it for Corey Perry, like this, the storylines are endless. It would be
there's so
incredible,
many.
but especially with how dominant Florida's looked, like they haven't like completely stifled the Oilers, but like they look like that prototypical like strong offense. They got really good defense as well. They got a great goaltender. Like they look like how you build a cup winning team.
Yeah, and this, I think this is kind of the the build that teams are starting to look for. It's not, we just need to have 4 lines that can go out there and skate fast and score goals, because you really, if you've got 2 solid top lines that can score, that's all you need. And then if your bottom guys are just guys that you can trust out there in any moment of the game, and they just play a hard game, they're responsible, and they just give it their all. Like that's all you need. You
Yeah,
mentioned Corey Perry, like that if Edmonton loses this series, that is going to be like an all-timer trivia question: is who's the one player in NHL history to lose in 4 Stanley Cup Finals in 5 years while playing for 4 different teams?
yeah.
Like that's going to be just absurd.
Thank
If
God he got one in his rookie year with
why?
Anaheim.
Who gives
Because
a shit? I
no,
don't care.
that would fucking suck,
I
man.
don't give a shit. Fuck, sucks to be
Watching
Corey
that,
Perry
he got enough money. He's
and
got a
win
cup
one
ring.
then.
He'll be fine.
Yeah,
He's got it.
exactly.
He's got one.
Yeah, so like he was. I mean, he was like heated at the rest, and I mean, all of
Yeah,
Edmonton was, and yeah, there was obviously, the reffing wasn't perfect by any means, but again, it's one of those things where, when you're a ref in the game and especially when it's, Edmonton had just scored 2 goals, they're just, charging Florida at will. It's, within in the final 4 minutes, and you see something happen, it's so tough to call it in real time, because you don't want to, you know, like we saw the one where Draisaitl was coming up the neutral zone, and it looked like he kind of got whacked down, and everybody was booing and chanting, "Ref, you suck!" But then you
yeah,
see the replay, and it's just Draisaitl toe picked,
yeah. They showed the replay and
and it's like, so if
didn't even
something
touch him.
like
He just
that,
fell.
exactly, it's like, so if something like that happened in the final 4 minutes, and a guy toe picks, and the ref calls a trip, and then Edmonton scores to tie the game, and then they end up winning it at some point, and then you look back and it's like, oh shit, the guy toe picked, and we just gave Edmonton a power play, and they won the game. Like that could change the entire outcome of the series. Now, I'm not
Yeah,
giving the refs a free pass, and it's like,
yeah.
you know
This is why they
oh,
need a
this, but
guy
it's so
watching the
tough.
cameras.
Like,
Just get a ref in the
yeah,
sky, man. Hell, even just for the playoffs. If you want to say the playoffs mean more, and for some reason you can't do it in the regular season, fine. But like, just in the playoffs, because that's when like the pressure is higher. There's more pressure on the players, the teams to succeed. There's more money going around for sports betting. Like, there's a million reasons. It's so easy to hire a ref to watch a screen and be that guy in Toronto who watches.
100%, yeah. And again, I'm not saying I'm giving the refs a pass, but at the same time, I thought the refing was pretty fair
I,
throughout most of the game.
I would give props to the refs,
And I
honestly.
wouldn't say the refs cost the Oilers the game.
No,
And I don't
no.
think they handed the game to Florida. Like,
The refs have not been a talking point in any of the 3 games in the Cup final so
and
far,
I love
and
that. And that's
I
why I'm
love
pushing
that.
it. That's why I'm pushing this.
We should not be talking about the refs when we're talking about the Stanley Cup final. And unfortunately, in other years, that's been the case.
Yeah.
Luckily, so far it's not. It's about Bobrovsky. It's about Barkov. It's about, what's McDavid been doing. And,
For even Evan Rodriguez. I mean,
yeah,
He had
fuck.
3
I
goals
mean,
in 2 games coming into tonight.
yeah. And I mean, I know a lot of people are giving McDavid shit, but man, he looks dangerous out there. They're just not going in. His team's only got 4 goals and he's got 3 points. And
Yeah.
it's not even him feeding Draisaitl or Hyman for those goals. He's making plays so that Kulak can take a shot. Like
Yeah.
it's
Like
they're doing their
this
best,
series
but
could be all said and done come Saturday night. I think we'll actually be together at a function, whatever you want to call it, and we're
yeah.
gonna have the game on there, and so we're gonna be watching game 4, and Cup could be awarded, or this series could be long from over, and we could still be talking about the Stanley Cup final and where the series is at a week from now. So
Yeah. So maybe maybe if the Panthers win, then maybe we'll put together a bit of a shorter episode on that Saturday night or on the Sunday to kind of address that just while it's fresh. Or if
yeah,
Edmonton
heat of the
if
moment,
Edmonton pushes another game and it goes until later, then maybe we'll just do the next
the regular,
scheduled one.
the usual, because even if we do our regular earlier week episode, it would still be out before game 5. So,
Oh, it would. Okay.
but I think in terms of everything from the game tonight, I think that's kind of all that I had, at least. I think kind of all the main points were talked about. I mean,
Yeah.
both teams look good. Again, it's not like Edmonton is bad. One
It's
thing
so
actually
hard
I
to
did.
even highlight players. Like it feels like we're talking about the Oilers a lot more when Florida's the one winning, but it feels so hard to
Mhm.
highlight a lot of guys on the Panthers. Barkov's been great, Rodriguez, Bobrovsky, but it's hard to highlight too many of them because like we just list their entire roster. They've been so
Yeah.
solid.
The one thing I would say is one guy that has kind of not like he's noticeable every time he's out there, but a guy that's kind of been underwhelming a bit for me is Matthew Tkachuk. I'm just,
I
I
was
mean,
wondering if you said.
terrific pass to Bennett there on the um, whatever goal that was, the third goal I think it was for the Panthers. Like great play by him there, but it's and again, it's not like he's playing bad, but you look back at what he did last year in the playoffs, and it was like he was driving the bus. He was just doing everything offensively, and I'm not kind of seeing that from him. That's kind of make me thinking like, could game 4 maybe be the game where like Edmonton's top guys show up, but then it's like Kachuk is as his game and maybe drops a Hattie or something like that, because we've seen him show up in some of the Panthers' biggest games in the last couple years, and he's kind of been the guy leading the charge. So I'm curious to see you know what we see from Kachuk throughout the rest of the series, whether it's one game or we get another 4 out of him. One thing I did want to ask you though, because
Sure.
you mentioned it, I think it was during game 2. Where do you think this series would be at if it was Florida and Dallas?
I I have a tough time believing that Dallas doesn't win that game 1. I think they've got a lot of guys that are just absolute hounds around the net. There were so many times where Bobrovsky would make the first or even the second or third save, and then he's down and out, and it just wouldn't happen. I think it's probably 2-1 Panthers right now.
That's kind of where
Um,
I think that's where I would have
it
it.
might even be 2-1 Dallas if they win game 1 and maybe tonight.
It's also,
Like
remember, Dallas would have
if
been the
Ottinger
home team
makes
as
one or
well.
two more saves, then uh Stuart Skinner was able to tonight. Maybe 2-1, but that's the most, and it's probably 2-1
Yeah.
Panthers at the
It's
least.
it's it's a 2-1 series regardless, and it is worth knowing that Dallas would have actually had games 1 and 2 at home, and rather than the Panthers, so which definitely could have played a factor. But regardless, it's whatever way you want to slice it, I think it would
It's
be a
so
2-1
hard to
series,
it's
just
so hard
because.
to what do you think it would be like,
Well, and what
we
are the
we
two
we can think
things
a
I
lot of things.
preach? What are the 2 things I preach in the playoffs? Like for teams, that's kind of how I based my picks for the series is goaltending and depth.
Yeah.
And I mean, Dallas had the better goaltender. Onger, didn't play like the better goaltender at times, but overall the better goaltender who can steal a game. And they had the better depth, and I think their depth would give more of a hard time for Florida's bottom 6 than Edmonton's bottom 6. So whatever way you want to slice it, it would be a 2-1 series, and we would know it's at least,
Yeah. Who
going
knows?
5
Maybe it would
games.
be still 3-0. Like, maybe the
It
Panthers up the
definitely
game there.
could
Maybe
have been.
Dallas doesn't. There's a reason Dallas didn't make it here, right? So it's hard to say.
Exactly.
It's hard to say too much that another team would be up on them. But
Yeah. But
it's one of those ones where it's so weird because like you can feel real strong about it, but then it's kind of also like why didn't it happen? Like in Tampa's second finals appearance in recent years, and they were against Montreal. Like, if that was Vegas instead of Montreal, Montreal swept Vegas, but I feel like it would have been a lot closer series,
100% it would have, yeah.
right? Like,
Well, and that's the thing though. Montreal, I mean, it was Carey Price.
yeah,
Like that's what it was, and at times that's what Dallas needed from Ottinger, and they didn't get it.
yeah, and
Like Ottinger was the difference maker in
you
that
need a
series. He
goalie
was
who
the
can
X
steal you some
factor.
games. And
Yeah,
I
and
do
it
think
was Stuart
Bobrovsky's going
Skinner
to win
who
the Conn Smythe now
it
as
was
well.
Stuart Skinner who stole a game for Edmonton in that game 6 to clinch the Western win there. Yeah, I don't know. Do you know that SpongeBob meme where it's like he's looking at the book, he's got it like open, and he's got like his eyes, and they're both looking at different pages. That's what
Oh,
this
yeah.
Conn Smythe is basically like. If Florida holds on to, or if Florida closes the series out and wins, it's like one page you got Barkov, one you got Bobrovsky. It's like
I think Barkov's
it's
played so
such a
elite, but I
good
think
case for both of them.
I think Bobrovsky has stolen like minimum 6 games for them, 7 games for them at minimum over this playoff run. Like he has been absolutely electric, and he definitely
Yeah,
looked a lot more human in the Boston series, but they handled that pretty easily. And yeah, he's like just off the sheer amount of games that he single-handedly has impacted so much, I feel like it's just undeniable at this
do
point.
you know what would make it absolutely just fucking hell for everyone voting? Game
What's that?
4. Picture this, game 4. Florida wins. Florida close out. They sweep. But they win the game like 2-0, 1-0, 3-0. Because then Bobrovsky would have another shutout there. But then it's also like, Barkov, who is out there every shift against like McDavid or Draisaitl or both of them throughout the third period here. And if neither one of them had a goal, let alone Draisaitl not having a point, I don't even know if Zach
That
Hyman has a
speaks that
point.
speaks
Like
way
it's
more
like
to Bobrovsky than Barkov, I think. At least in the voters' eyes.
I
Like,
mean, maybe, but at the same time, you got like it's
like
Barkov's
I
been
definitely get what you're
doing
saying
it
because he's
offensively,
doing so
but
much shutdown, but
so much.
but even the best Selke candidates, even Patrice Bergeron, he doesn't have near as much of an impact on his team's defensive play as the goalie in the net. Like
Yeah,
like it's massive, but at the end of the day, the goalie's got to stop some stuff, and Bobrovsky's stopped a lot.
yeah. I'm still leaning on Bobrovsky. Probably gets it now. I think I was more on Barkov. After
Yeah.
at the beginning of this year's, but now like
At the
here
beginning
we
of the
are now.
series, it was an
I'm like
absolute 50-50 to me. But
I'm more leaning towards Bobrovsky, but I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest if Barkov gets it.
yeah,
Because I think both just have a terrific case for it. Like it's one of those things where you can't go wrong with it.
yeah,
Like there's no, unless they give it to like someone else, then it's like, all right, you shit the bed there, but you can't go wrong with picking either one of those two. They've both
yeah.
been absolutely terrific.
But that's pretty much all we got for the finals to talk about until Game 4 happens, I suppose. We do have some other stuff that's happened around the league. Finally, some other things are starting to heat up. It's been pretty radio silence for the last bit, but we're actually getting a little bit of news going on. So, do you have anything you wanna start with? Do you have anything you have a lot to say about that we've got on list here?
I guess we can start off with talking about the St. Louis Blues quickly. So the St. Louis Blues announced this morning that Alexander Steen has been hired as the special advisor to the general manager with the St. Louis Blues, and it's confirmed, which is really weird because you don't normally see
Yeah,
anything
I
like
don't
this ever
remember this.
happen. But they said that in the start of the 2026 season, he will officially step in as the general manager for the St. Louis Blues. And then current general manager Doug Armstrong will then step up into the role of president of hockey operations. That will keep him there until 2030. Like you normally don't see it where the team announces that they're going to be making a change to their general manager like 2 years out.
I don't know
Uh,
if I've ever heard of anything this far in advance, like at that level. Like I've
now, don't get me wrong. A lot of teams do
some
this.
rumors.
Like a lot of
Yeah,
teams do this, where they'll bring a guy in as this role and whatnot. But they never you never see teams announce it just straight up and be like, "This is what's
yeah,
happening." Get ready for it type of
yeah. It's
thing.
almost like a get hyped for it for your new coach in 2 years or GM in 2 years. Like it's very
Imagine if a
interesting
team
that they
did it
do it
with a
this way.
coach.
Yeah,
Talking about San Jose, they just hired Ryan Warsofsky as their head coach. He came in as an assistant coach under David Quinn 2 years ago. So it's like 2 years ago, if they said, "Hey, David Quinn, we've hired as our head coach. Warsofsky's the assistant coach, but in 2 years, he's going to step in as the head coach." Like it'd be like people are like, "What the fuck?" Like
yeah.
so,
Well,
it's
especially David Quinn.
yeah. But
But
I think that's St. Louis. I've got no issue with that. So
yeah, yeah. I think it's going to be a great move for them. I think it's going to work out pretty well. I have no idea if he has like a bunch of like experience in this kind of thing in GMing
this
and
is where he's
coaching,
going to get the experience.
but like
Is
has he had any at any lower levels, or is it just I'm a
or
retired
no,
hockey
no,
player that played here
yeah,
and we're gonna see how
yeah,
it works?
basically, yeah.
Well, so even
But now
having
he's
no
job shadowing
prior,
for 2 years, and
yeah,
even when he becomes GM, he's gonna have Doug Armstrong right there beside him, just like Brendan Shanahan was right beside Dubas
yeah,
in Toronto. Like Doug Armstrong's with him to make decisions with him, and be there for any questions or anything. So he'll be just fine. He's in good hands there in St.
yeah,
Louis.
it's just very very interesting that we so rarely get these like that far in advanced announcements. But on top of that, they're announcing it about a guy who's stepping into a field that he is completely new to. Like it's not like
Hmm.
he's been seasoned. Like you'd think that they would give him this trial run for 2 years and then be like, okay, we planned for him to be ready in 2 years. He is ready. Let's announce it. But
Yeah.
now, like, there's a decent chance I don't know, maybe he just doesn't get it. Maybe he just kind of sucks at it. And then you just kind of awkwardly be like, actually, we're not making him the GM. Like, I assume he'll probably do fine. Most hockey minds like that, like he's probably talked about it with them enough that he knows he's going to be good at it and stuff. But it's interesting that he doesn't have like a bit of a resume in the field.
Yeah, but yeah, I think he'll do just fine. Like you
I
said, it
think
is a
so.
bit weird that he's got no history,
Yeah.
but again,
Yeah.
you got to start somewhere, and
Yeah.
what better place to
Not even
start
weird
than
that he has
job
no history,
shadowing
just
Doug
like that they would
Armstrong?
announce it before
Yeah.
he's even like shown some promise. And maybe he has. Maybe we don't, maybe he's been like training a little bit with the org for the last few years. And now they're like, okay, let's step it up to the next level and job shadow the GM.
Hmm.
So it might be
Yeah.
that. But yeah, it'll be
Yeah,
good for
and
them.
then the the other news is I already mentioned the San Jose Sharks, the last team without a head coach, finally announced early this morning. It was weirdly early that current well was the assistant coach. Now he is the head coach. Ryan Warsofsky is officially the head coach of the San Jose Sharks, the youngest coach in the NHL now as well. 37 years old. He came in under
Nice.
David Quinn there. It was actually the first year where him and David Quinn came in as Quinn, obviously the head coach. Morsovsky ran the kind of the defenseman. That's when Eric Carlson completely, you know, turned back the clock and dropped 100 points. And also cool to see David Quinn did find a new home. He is actually going to Pittsburgh to be the assistant coach alongside Sullivan there.
And
So he's
reconnecting
going,
with Eric
yeah,
Carlson over there.
he's going back there to try and recreate the magic with Eric Carlson. But I love this hire for San Jose. This is a coach that's got a long track record of coaching young players and helping younger players develop, and seeing tremendous strides out of the young defenseman on the Sharks last year. Obviously, the minus 150 goal differential isn't nice,
Yeah,
but seeing
it's
the
hard to tell
development
with a
from
team that deep in a rebuild a lot of the time, but
yeah,
you can see the improvement in multiple guys that have been there the whole time and that they've brought in and also kind of helped out. So I like this move.
yeah. I think it's terrific. I'm really excited to see what he can do with the plethora of young players he's going to have next season. Like the Sharks are going to have a lot of rookies in their lineup, and so I'm curious to see how he navigates through that, as well as uh, I think they said they're going to have an official press conference Monday at some point Monday morning, and then that's probably when we'll find out whether the rest of the coaching staff is kind of staying on, or if a new group is being brought in to to fill that out. But at the end of the day, I think this is a great hiring by the Sharks. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I think they could have a hidden gem here. So, but
Yeah,
only
and
time will tell.
I love hearing when teams hire young coaches as well. I think it just gets a good different perspective in a lot of the time. So, you might see some stuff being coached that isn't, a lot of the other coaches might do that they do differently, and maybe it works for some guys, maybe it doesn't. But especially when you got a
Yeah.
really young team like San Jose, it could really click with them.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like it was they basically like we mentioned, because that's really what it came down to, is either Warsawski or Marco Sturm, two great coaches who are great at coaching younger players and helping develop younger players. So really, it's like you couldn't go wrong with either one. And so why not give it to kind of the unknown in Warsawski as a head coach at the NHL level, a guy who already has been there for 2 years, knows the players already, and kind of give him the chance to show what he's got. Like it's really a low risk, high reward. Because if it doesn't work,
Yeah,
you can him and you bring in someone new, or he could turn out to be a great coach that then you've now got for the next 10 years, potentially more, if it just things are rolling with the kind of the new team that they're starting to make. So
yeah,
I don't have any issues with this whatsoever.
yeah, yeah. It'll be good to see how it works out for them. Uh, we got a couple other things. Patrick
What do
Laine,
we have? Oh,
Patrick Laine has officially. I don't know if he officially, I guess, requested ask out of
yeah,
Columbus,
he
or
he
if it.
he, he wants out.
Okay, okay,
He wants out.
yeah, yeah, and so him and Columbus, Columbus is agreeing to that, and they're trying to work on a trade that works, for the team and for him. Um, it is important to note that Line A entered the player assistance program back in January, on January 28th, and he is still in the program. Um, just sounds overall like he's not had a great time in Columbus, whether that's on ice play, whether that's where he's been playing in the lineup, the coach, or, maybe something more related to whatever he's dealing with that sent him to the player assistance program. So, regardless, hopefully he can, you know, finish the program and fix whatever he's dealing with, and come back better than ever with whatever team ends up wanting to trade for him.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what a line A return would look like, because obviously we're gonna see a line A trade happen now, and I'm trying to think of what kind of return it's gonna be for him. I can't even put a ballpark estimation out there of what I think what I think Columbus is gonna get back in return for him, because it's just can't tell when with kind of these situations, especially with his contract too, is not super cheap.
It's it's not very cheap,
It's not a long
and
term deal though. Like he's
he,
only got, I think, 1 year after this year, or maybe two, but it's not a long deal.
yeah, he we know he can score, but hasn't always put it up there. But honestly, even when he's kind of off, he still puts up like good enough numbers. Like you shouldn't be healthy scratching this guy or anything,
A
unless
big
he's
thing
like
also with
real bad
Laine is
defensively. But
it's always kind of seemed like he's never gotten along with a coach. It kind of feels like
yeah,
he's kind of one of those guys. Like, and I'm not saying he's a locker room cancer or anything like that, but it kind of seems like he's never like he's never on the coach's good side. It seems, and I think a lot of it is just kind of his play out there. Really, like I don't think it's anything he does in the locker room or outside the rink or anything. I think it's just on the ice. You just at the NHL level, you want to get 110% out of your players every shift in both ends. And for Line A, it's maybe the 110% in the offensive zone, 50% of the time, and then the defensive zone, you probably get 110% out of them, maybe 5% of the game, maybe or
yeah.
something like so again, it's not like he's a bad
But
dude or anything. It's just, if a team's making a move for him, they want to make sure that they got a coach that can really
yeah,
help turn him into a full, well-rounded player. Because
at
when
the
he's
same
on, like
time,
we've seen what he can do.
though, it's not like we haven't seen players succeed in this league before that, quite frankly, just don't give a shit about defense, right? Like we've seen plenty of high scoring wingers that just, you know what? That's the
But then
second, that's the third line's
You need
job.
Line to be a 50 goal guy. You need him to be a 40
Yeah,
goal, 80, 85 point guy. Like you need him to produce
yeah.
elite
So
numbers offensively then if he's not going to play defense.
yeah, or maybe if you can fit him somewhere on a second or third line and all probably somewhere on the power play, and maybe put him with a really good like two-way center, kind of almost one of those depth guys that gets thrown out there with the Selke guys like Sorelli or an Erickson, Joel Eriksson Ek, something like that. If you can maybe throw him on a wing with one of those guys, maybe it would improve. I mean, there's a reason I'm not an NHL coach, right? But uh, if you can
It
put
would
him
have
with
potential though, I think.
if you can put him with guys that can help set up and score, as well as they're clearly like, Line A's out there offense first, the other guy's out there mostly defense first, maybe it could work.
Mhm.
And I'm not exactly a whiz with Columbus's lines. Maybe they have been doing that. Maybe it was the similar case in Winnipeg, but yeah, it
Yeah.
hasn't worked out phenomenally for him. But like looking at his stats, like a lot of people talk like he's like dropped off a cliff, like he's like a Nail Yakupov style. It is nowhere near that level. He still has solid numbers, but obviously he could do a lot more.
Exactly, right? That's exactly it.
Yeah, he's got, just looking at some of these stats here. He has in the last 3 years, he's had 56 games, 56 points, so like point per game. 55 games, 52 points, and then this past season, obviously with the player assistance program, like we mentioned, 18 games, 9 points, so a bit of a drop off there. Um, a -7, a -12, and a -10 in those seasons, but also it's on
Mhm.
the Jackets, so it's kind of hard to judge.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I mean, injuries probably a decent part of it too.
Yeah.
Uh,
He
fo-
has had a hard time
for
staying healthy.
45 games, 56, 55, 18. He hasn't played 82 games since the 18-19 season back with
Yeah.
Winnipeg.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, not a bad player. It's kind of just been a rough go for him so far. I got to imagine wherever he lands, if he comes out of the player assistance program ready to go and fully healthy and like his body is healthy and ready to go, I think he'll do just fine wherever he goes. Uh,
Has there
quick
been
re. Oh,
there
sorry. Go
hasn't
ahead.
been any. I don't believe there's been any rumors of where he's going, but
No,
just
there's
talking
not.
about it, I've just thought of this now. Do you think he might be a decent fit in New Jersey?
I
Because
don't
Jack,
think New Jersey would be able to afford him.
no,
I don't think so. And then even if you do that, then what do you do? Like, is it like, hey, Timo Meyer, like, sorry, man, like you're just getting plummeted down the depth chart or something? Yeah, I think he'd be. I
yeah,
think he'd be a
their
really
top six is
fun
pretty
fit
solid.
in New Jersey.
Yeah,
I think they've already kind of got their
their
kind of their
top six
core
kind
and
of
set,
rounded out.
and they do have to save some money for a guy like Luke Hughes, who's probably going to be looking for a nice payday.
Is his contract coming up
His next,
that soon?
after this year, or he has 2 more years now on his deal.
Okay.
I think both him and Simone Nemec, which
Yeah.
the way that they both kind of looked like you're gonna have
you
to.
have to prepare for that off
Yeah.
season like beforehand. You can't deal with that when it gets here. You have to make sure the room's available.
A team I have heard people mention is Chicago, but again, it's like Chicago's kind of just because they've
So
got so
many
much
people
cap
are in.
space and they've got Bedard. It's
Yeah.
everyone's going there. Like I think he would be fun with Bedard, but again, they're both kind of more goal scorers. So
Yeah.
I think I think a fun place for Line to go would be somewhere where you've just got like a guy who just like a Joe Thornton type player, like a guy who just loves to dish the puck and will just be looking for Line out there to just wire him home because you put the right guys with Line is a 50 goal guy. So
Yeah.
a quick rewind I want to when we talked about St. Louis and Steen being the special advisor to the general manager.
Yeah.
Florida has one of those. And if Florida wins the cup here, that guy is also a Stanley Cup champion, and that is none other than Roberto Luongo.
I had not heard of this at all.
Bobby Lou would finally be a Stanley Cup champion. Now, he wouldn't get his name on the cup, but he would get a Stanley Cup ring. He would get to, be down there on the ice with everyone after the game and hoist the cup up, and everybody would go nuts. Like obviously not the way he envisioned it in his playing careers of winning his first Stanley Cup, but if
Better than
Florida
nothing.
does win the Stanley Cup, Roberto Luongo is a Stanley Cup champion. So
That's interesting.
I know
I can't believe I hadn't
Vancouver
heard that.
fans already were just ripping Edmonton apart and everything to do with them, and they're all on the Florida bandwagon. And if they weren't before, they 100% are now after hearing that.
Yeah, that would be great because he always gave 110 out there, and he just never got to a spot with a team that could really do it. And it's too bad, but that would be really cool to see.
Yeah, so something to think about there. If if you're kind of someone who doesn't care who wins the series, and Florida wins, it's just something to kind of make you be like, damn, like Bobby Lou finally did it. Cool. He didn't finally do it, but he's finally
he's a part of it.
Yeah, yeah, he is still a part of it. But anyways, now fast forwarding back to where we are. What do we have left? I don't think we have much left here.
We just got 2 left, right? We got the Flames.
Yeah, you can just talk about that one. Like, there's not much to say. You can kind of just break it down, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, the Calgary Flames hired former Blue Jackets head coach Brad Larson over the past few days. They hired him in as an assistant coach. So, I don't know a ton about his time there or how necessarily good he was as a coach. But I mean, anytime you can get a guy who was a head coach as an assistant coach feels generally like a win. It's a guy with enough experience that they got to the point where they got to be a head coach, and now they're helping out your head coach. It feels like that'd be really good for the locker room. So, despite not knowing much about Brad Larson, I feel like this has got to be a good pickup for the Flames. Like,
I think it definitely helps. I just want to double check because I don't think he got the job. I don't think so.
You don't think he got the job? Oh no.
No. I'm just doing a quick. Yeah. So, so I wasn't gonna have anything to say, but then I started to think about it and I was like, okay. So Brad Larson is stepping into the role that Mark Savard was in with the Flames for the past couple years, and then decided to mutually part ways with the Calgary Flames, where kind of all signs were pointing to him going to Toronto to join Craig Berube's staff there with the Maple Leafs. And then that job ended up going to Lane Lambert, former Islanders head coach. So there we go. So now the Flames brought someone in to fill that role, and I think they got a great guy for it. As good as Savard was, I think Brad Larson will do just fine there with them.
Yeah. Uh, Relatively local boy as well. Born in Nakusp, BC.
Oh,
So
okay, so he's
he's
coming out a little closer to home
he's
then,
from, yeah,
especially
he's from
from
Western Canada.
Columbus. See, Goudreau, guys want to go to Calgary. Guys want out of Columbus to go to Calgary, not the other way around. Um,
Everyone
anyways,
from Columbus is flocking to Calgary.
yeah, it should
Um,
be. And maybe Line. I mean,
who knows?
if
Eh,
you want, if Huberdeau refuses to shoot, will only pass. Well, if you put
that's a
Line
great
on
guy.
on his line, I mean, that could be some fun magic for
And you know
Calgary.
what? That would be two really good wingers working with each other. You really, with those two, would need a good defensive center. So you know what? Maybe if Lindholm can't find a contract, that
Come
might
back to
be
Calgary.
that might be a neat little look right there.
I would honestly, I would be shocked if Lindholm doesn't end up like with Boston or something. I think Boston would overpay to lock down a top
Mm,
centerman, but
probably.
who
That would
knows?
that would be one of the most unpredictable lines next year. Line A, Huberdeau, and Lindholm coming back. Like they could all go off.
That would be
They could
such a
all put
weird
up
line.
25, 30 points on the year. Like they could do anything.
Yeah,
Um
it would be entertaining. That's all I know.
yeah, for sure. The only other thing we really have written down here, you might have
Is
something
a
else as well, but
I think
the
it's a big pile of shit, right? Is that what it
uh
is?
well, it's not good, I'll tell you that. Utah Hockey Club has announced that they're going to go as the Utah HC this next year before uh, changing and rebranding to whatever wins their vote or however they're deciding it. They released their jersey and logos, and they look really boring, to be honest. Like they're fine for what they are, but it it's weird to me how much effort they're putting into this, if that makes sense. Like I get it's an NHL franchise, but at the same time, some dude just fucking drew a leaf 100 years ago, and it's still on jerseys, and it got changed a bit, and then it went back. Like it's how the Habs logo has been the same like forever. Like it's
Detroit's
uh,
has been the same. Chicago's like
and none of them are intricate. Like there's a little H in the middle of the of the Canadians logo. That's about
you
as
could argue
intricate as some of those old ones get.
Chicago's kind of is.
But it's not really complicated in that, like, you had to
Yeah,
put
no.
you didn't need to hire a designer for it.
Mhm.
So the fact that they're like taking this extra year for it, like it's not something that they need to like get a
It's just to
department in
it's
place.
just to make money. It's just to
It
make extra money. You sell a
it
bunch of
feels
these
like it.
jerseys and then you pump out new ones next year. It's just first of all, it's such a disappointment to go from the Coyotes, which had, you know, a top 3 logo, potentially even the best logo in the entire league. You could argue even the best jerseys, and then you go to this shit. Like this is literally like you go on to NHL 24.
It
You
it
go into
does look like it.
ESHL. You make your club and you're like, "Oh shit, I just want to play. I don't want to make my jersey or anything." So you just grab a custom stock one and just be like, "This is what I'm going to use." Like this is what this shit is. Like you couldn't even go with anything more than just we're going to have a black home jersey and a white away with a little bit of blue. Like it's so shit. It's so embarrassing how hard they fought for an NHL team to bring an NHL team to Utah, and then you can't even give us a fully finished product, to go. Like you're giving us the beta version of what your team's going to be for a year. It's awful.
Yeah,
I hate it.
it's lame.
I absolutely hate it.
And for those who haven't seen, so they're going as the Utah Hockey Club next year before they get their name, but uh, the jerseys are basically they honestly the color scheme they basically just ripped off the Jets, dark blue with some light blue and then some white, and it's literally just like Utah, just the four letters diagonally across the chest, and a couple stripes at the bottom, a couple stripes on either sleeve. Call it a day. That's it. It
Yeah.
it really has very little personality behind it. They didn't even give them some sort of cool font. It's so like just you looked at 3 fonts on Microsoft Word and then you went, "This one looks fine," and they just typed it in. It's it's pretty lame. And
It's so lame.
hopefully the Yeti jerseys, when they're inevitably called the Utah Yeti, look incredible. Uh, that's at least what I'm hoping they go with, but yeah,
Anything but this. It's so embarrassing.
it needs a logo.
Like,
I
you're literally gonna call,
It's a little retro to have the word across the front, but it needs a logo. It looks empty.
like, when you look back at it, they're drafting, 7th or whatever, 6th, and it's like they're
Yeah.
gonna make their first selection in what's gonna be known as franchise history because they're completely separate from the Coyotes now. Like, everything from here on out is like, this is their record book and everything. Like, your first pick in franchise history, your next superstar, because you're gonna get a phenomenal player there that's gonna be a staple of your team for years to come. And all the draft photos and whatnot is gonna be him walking up on the stage, and the first jersey he puts on is this shit. Like, you could have busted out an absolute fire jersey and logo and whatnot, and then on
It
draft
really
day, your
shows
guys are
us how
putting it on and
spoiled
they
we
look
were.
sick. And it's like, now you're gonna have your next superstar player put on this shit and all his draft photos and whatnot.
Yeah, it's especially like Vegas's jerseys look pretty good, but like going from Seattle as the most recent expansion team to this, like Seattle,
Mhm.
when they announced and released their jerseys, everyone was like, "Holy crap, these
They
things look
smashed it.
sick!" Like that's a
Yeah.
top 3 jersey in the league. That might be the best logo in the league, honestly. Like that looks great, and the colors
Yeah.
are so good. Like they didn't
It all just works so well.
they didn't even pick interesting colors with this either, which maybe
But
they
they
picked
picked
the
good ones that work together.
Oh, sorry, I was talking about Utah when I said that
Oh,
part.
Utah. Yeah, they went they
They're
went they went basic.
yeah, very common colors across a lot of teams and as well as just not eye-catching. I'm wondering if they are going with a lot of the white, the blue because they know kind of where they're going, if it's gonna be the
But their home
Yeti or
jersey
the
is black.
Mammoth or the Blizzard or
Like,
something like that.
the logo's kind of got the blue, but their home jersey is black. It's a black jersey. It's
Yeah.
like a minor hockey league where it's like, hey, you wear your dark jersey at home and you wear your white on the road. Like, that's what it is. They've just got a basic black and a basic white.
Yeah.
Like, even if they did, you know, still the basic Utah Hockey Club jersey, but at least do the blue that you've got for your logo right now. Just anything that more than just a they did the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Realistically, like, they did the bare minimum for it because they thought, hey,
I
why not?
I think it almost would have been cooler if they made jerseys that were very similar and just went as the Utah Coyotes for 1 year. Just be the Utah Coyotes, and then next year it's like, all right, we're officially completely new. Now we're the Blizzard, the Mammoth, the Yeti, whatever. Just yeah, you had something
I don't think you,
really good.
I don't
You
think they
don't.
can do. I don't think they can do the name Coyotes because I think that's still trademarked with their.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that they wouldn't be able to.
Ah, damn. Well,
But regardless,
wouldn't have happened either way. We got
it's
Utah
really
HC for now.
embarrassing. Yeah.
It's it's too bad because I don't think it's that difficult, especially when you're a billionaire, to be able to get people to come up with stuff. Like, is it
Especially when you've already
because
got 4
the
names left that you're kinda picking from,
yeah,
or 5 or 6 or whatever.
I think it's 6 total. Like, I think it must just be the owner is just like every day he wants a different one and he just can't decide. So he's just like putting it off. Like I yeah, because like I can't imagine they're expecting to sell a crap ton of these, especially with Fanatics being the jersey provider next year for the league. Like
Yeah, yeah. I'd be shocked if people actually wanna spend
like
money on these.
like they're gonna sell some, but like
Oh, they're gonna sell some.
nowhere close to what Vegas or Seattle sold. When it looks like this compared to those, and on top of that, they're all Fanatics. No.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. They dropped the ball with it, but you know what? At the end of the day, I'm not losing sleep over it. Like,
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
still
it's
excited for. It's just fun to see a new team show up, a relocation.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, it really brutally sucks for Arizona and what they went through, but
And you just want to see it start
you
off
can
with
be
a
happy for
bang.
Utah.
Like not a slow build to being like, all right, now this is finally the Utah team that we can get used to, not a year in the middle of like imagine if they went on a fucking incredible run next year. They go on like a Florida Panthers of last year and win the cup. Like it's probably not gonna happen, but like what if it did?
You know
And
what?
you're
That
wearing those jerseys for it
you know
instead of
what?
something so sick.
That would be lame, but at the same time, it would have been more embarrassing for the NHL if the Coyotes did that this year and the cup was awarded in a 5,000 seat arena. So
I mean, yeah, like
this
that
isn't
is
the
true.
first time the league's had something embarrassing going on.
That I mean that is true, but
I get what you're saying, though.
at the
It
bare
would not
minimum,
look
if they
sick.
make the playoffs, I think that's when you gotta just be like, all right, this is our team now.
You'll like to think that they'll have something by then, but who
Well,
knows?
I heard someone say that like by the time of the draft or free agency, like we're gonna know what the team's gonna be.
I thought they were announcing it like next off season.
Well, no, because they've already got a like they've made their official Twitter account, and their bio was just a link to go vote on which name you want.
Well, yeah, but they've been saying the whole time. The whole point is that they want to announce it next year. I thought at least because that's why they're doing Utah Hockey Club this year.
I mean, that's what I thought, but I heard rumors that they were going to announce it at some point
Maybe
coming up within the next month or two. But they knew for sure their first season what they were going with. But who knows? It could be dropped on a random
that would
Wednesday
be
afternoon or
that would
something.
be
Like,
wild if they announced what the team's going to be and then just kept being the Utah Hockey Club anyway for a
right?
season. Yeah, who knows?
But we'll all find out in due time.
maybe it's just weird news, and maybe they just want Utah on a jersey to hand out, and it'll get done before the preseason. Who knows?
Yeah,
Maybe it'll
yeah,
be one of those team names by then. We'll have to wait and see.
yeah.
Do you have anything else that you want to talk
No,
about? I think that's all we had
I'm
written.
I'm all bone dry. I'm squeezed out,
Classic. You love to hear that.
just like the Oilers. I'm out of fuel
Oof.
or oil, whatever way you want to swing that.
Out of gas. They didn't quite look like it yet. They're still going for it, but
They've still got a
it's
lot of
tough.
fight left in them, and I think there's going to be a big bounce back from. Well, not about bounce back because I thought they played really good tonight, but you're going to see a really
You can't just play well next game. You
pissed
have to
off
win.
Edmonton Oilers team that's going to give everything they got
Yeah.
because potentially could be their last game, so that you got to leave it
Yeah.
all out there.
Yep. The other team has three wins. Doesn't matter at this point if you're at 99% on the winometer. You need to get the W.
Yeah, well, yeah. After game one, I think it was the thing was like the deserve to win thing based on
Oh, that's what I was
all
thinking of.
aspects of the
Yeah.
game. In game one, it was like Edmonton was like 83% or something,
Yeah.
and they lost 3-0. Like it's
And that
you
bodes
know,
well for you, but eventually you got to actually win the games.
yeah, you got to
Which,
actually, yeah, exactly.
yeah.
But yeah, that wraps up everything we got for this episode. Once again, we want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Stick 'em Up podcast. We are on all socials. We are on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at SEU Hockey. Come say hi. Come let us know what you think of the Cup final. Can Edmonton come back? That is our question for you guys.
Also, let us know. Let us know which of the final six names you like for the Utah Hockey Club: the Blizzards, the Yeti, the Venom, the Outlaws, the Mammoth, or just the Hockey Club. I really thought everyone was going to agree that Yeti was the best. There's a lot of people who like Blizzards, Mammoth, and
You
Outlaws as
can't
well.
go with the Dairy Queen double chunk brownie
Oreo
batter blizzards. Like you can't do that shit. Well, I mean, you could, but
I've seen a lot of people who really like it, so fair enough.
they got to do reverse retro then of like the upside down blizzard with the spoon in it being like, oh, doesn't fall out. Like I would honestly, I'd probably buy.
They
That
got
jersey,
the
actually. That's kind of sick.
mouth. They got the mouth that would talk in the commercials on there. That would be the most
Dude, they should.
that would dethrone Gritty as the most horrifying mascot in the league.
Yeah, that would actually be that would be absolutely diabolical.
Look into my uvula.
Shut
Those
up.
those commercials were bad.
I totally forgot about those. Oh, those
Yeah,
commercials were so shit.
they were
But that's the thing, though.
they
Sometimes
were a
the
little
right amount of
vile.
shit is good because then it
I
gets you thinking about it. Whereas these Utah
well, I fucking
jerseys,
remember it like at
shit all
least
the
10
time.
years later. So
Yeah,
that's something.
yeah, those were actually fire. Um, but yeah, once again, we want to thank everybody for listening. Enjoy Game 4 on Saturday, and we will be back next week.